Continue with the conversation apace, and of course also tackling the issue of corruption. I just mentioned about Gulana Kulalu, and of course how also a tidy sum of money was paid to a politician here in the country, 4 billion shillings. That is an eye-popping figure, but it continues. This is just another angle to it as well as far as corruption is concerned. Busia Senator and former Attorney General Amos Wako and his immediate, right, I'm waiting for my autocue to roll so that we can continue with this. And his immediate family have been banned from traveling to the United States of America after he was cited for corruption. According to a communique by the U.S. Department of State, Wako was involved in a significant corruption, and thus his entry to the United States is restricted, adding that the move is in tandem with the country's renewed fight against the vice. The Busia senator, who also sat in the Building Bridges Initiative team, suffers the fate together with his wife, Laura Ngaira, and son, Julius Wako. The communique further says the action sends a strong signal that the United States is a valuable partner in Kenya's fight against corruption. The U.S. Department also notes fighting corruption and taking such steps will go a long way into ensuring economic prosperity. We just want to throw it to our panelists this morning. And of course, we're eagerly waiting for the BBI to really come out. And for a person that has been adversely also mentioned or even now banned to go to the US because he's been adversely mentioned in corrupt dealings, that also it really throws a spanner into the works as far as the credibility of BBI is concerned. So how can we, I don't know how it's been itemized, but we know the 9 points agenda as well, and combating corruption is one of them, because I know there's a working ethos, right? That is, working, or a nation's ethos as well. Maybe your reaction? I don't want to comment on this. I'm not a commentator as far. I'm just a journalist. Let's begin with the.
I was first wondering why you've drawn that line, or where is the nexus between BBI and the pronouncements by the U.S. government.
But you've heard that from Wako.
Yes, I know he's one of the people sitting in the BBI team. But I really don't think that has got a direct link anyway. But just to mention and talk about the Wako ban. Well, I'm sure it came as a surprise to many Kenyans because former Attorney General Amos Wako, or is called popularly, even in the Senate, we refer to him as Attorney General Emeritus. I think he's stood in the eyes of the people as one of the few Kenyans who've served in that position fairly well, and has always, in the minds of the people, appeared as one who's worked fairly and well beyond above reproach. And my curiosity, because I remember in the first almost 10 or more years ago, some of these allegations came up, and he was listed amongst many other Kenyans as those being investigated by the U.S. government on charges of corruption or on issues of corruption. And then for this to come out now, probably more than 10 years, and only his name, because there were many others I remember on that list. Since curious, my question would be, how long or how oftenly then does the U.S. government update its data on what's happening not only in the country but in those 10 years? I think it would have been good to be specific on which allegations. I'm not defending anything to do with corruption. Of course, if Amos Wako is apt and able to defend himself. But to resonate with Kenyans, and especially when you use that terminology that you say that they're saying, that sends a strong signal. I mean, the strength of that signal is very, very questionable, because it's way outdated, if you ask me, because we have so many things that have happened since that time. We had even Goldenberg, we had Anglo-leasing. After that, we have got so many other, including current ones, major ones. I mean, from NYS.
But you don't have any indication. Just a moment. Omatani. Yes. You don't have any indication that yes, this is hacking back into history of Amos Wako. You do not know the update that they do have as far as the investigation is concerned. So for you to really castigate and say that, this is hacking back to 10 years ago, You don't have that information.
You know what I'm saying. If for it to be a strong signal, for it to be current, for it to carry us along, that we are where we are in the fight that we are fighting against corruption. One, it would have to have disclosure. In my view, that they would be saying this is what we are disclosing about these men, and this is what they did, and in furtherance, in cahoots with this one and that one, and they will be saying that deals with that particular scandal, and then this is what we are waiting to deal with. I think that's more like it. It sounds like that usual thing about the U.S. and looking at Boni Halwale and said that they think that he doesn't look like a very nice man. They banned
So are you passing it as a propaganda?
So I mean, I would want to urge them. It is good that they partner with us in this fight, but be more current, be more be proactive, update and act the way with the times where we are, and I think that would be more like it. If they were telling me now about NYS,
right,
if they were telling me about what we are talking about, all these scandals of billions of shillings getting lost now, and they're joining us in this fight, today's fight, then I would be saying now we are talking. But saying, okay,
NYS
keep it up.
No, it's not just an amorphous thing. Behind NYS are persons. So if those persons were actually incriminated,
that's what I'm saying, Dibal, that you see now, if for example, you came...
The bell is just ahead of you. Can you just bang it now?
Telling you that we are fighting corruption because David Livingstone...
Bonnie...
But anyway, my point is, it bears fruit when it is urgent.
Thank you.
When it's prompt, when it is now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm inclined to think maybe Omatangi is saying this because also Amos Wako is a member of the Senate, so maybe he's actually inclining to sort of really cast aspersions to all these particular revelations from the U.S. Department. I don't know what Aaron Chiriot will say.
Well, there are 2 or 3 things that I'd wish to say about this story. First of all, unlike in all other previous such instances, at least Amos Wako is Amos Wako. If he was from the other side of a political divide, he will be someone's ally. So it is very telling that you guys in the newspaper choose to refer to him as Busia Senator Amos Wako. I wish the same standard could be kept for everybody. Otherwise, I can assure you...
So now you're reading into what actually is not really there.
No.
This is what you're deciphering for yourself.
It's the truth. If Amos Wako was, say, a friend to someone like William Ruto, today's splash will be Ruto's ally, banned from entering the U.S. But that is what it is. Secondly, there is a sense in which Wamatangi is right, because why would you want us to comment on what is extremely vague to us? We are told he's involved in corruption practices. I wish they had gone ahead and informed us which ones. Is it present? Is it past? Now we are left to speculate. And that is a difficult part of this discussion this morning.
But will there be any discernible difference if it's present, if it's past?
No, it's important because...
corruption really moves with time?
Listen, Debal, you don't expect me to come on your show and agree with everything the Americans do when their history is otherwise, especially with their involvement with politicians across the globe.
But I'm not saying
they have used such instances to engineer political change across the globe. And there's evidence to that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Therefore, it will be very foolish of us to just celebrate and clap to them and say, we are not a failed state.
That's it. I want to get your reaction.
That's why I'm telling you, you need to listen to this point, Dibal, that much as what they have done, they have given us so little that we cannot know whether to celebrate or critique them.
Thank you.
Had they gone to the extent of revealing to us what it is that Amos Wako has done, then we would have known whether to applaud or critique them.
Thank you.
But as it is different to place this kind of thing anywhere.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from Otiende Molo. I've lost my sequence, actually.
Okay.
No, Jaco came late. He should be actually the one seated on
usually,
yeah.
The ball usually starts here.
It starts with you, then it goes to
and
Wamatangi.
it ends with Matangi. But today it started with Wamatangi and jumped to Aaron.
Maybe then you can do body, then go this way.
Let me give my comments then.
Okay.
First of all, I find a number of things interesting with this story of Amos Wako. The first is timing. Amos Wako stopped being AG 10 years ago. And by the time he stopped, he had been AG 20 years. So when you are saying that the former Attorney General did something, and for that reason you are barring him, within the scope of 30 years, and thereafter he's been senator for, I think, now going to 7 years. So the point Senator Wamatangi was making, and I agree with it, is that what is a strong signal when you are using a span of 37 years with unclarities? How does it help us? You know, it doesn't. Secondly, is about who. They've listed Senator Amos Wako, the wife, the son. To the best of my knowledge, and those of us who are here who know will probably tell you that Senator Amos Wako's wife has never featured on anything that he would do, either as AG or as senator or anything, for a number of reasons, you know. And there's therefore no possibility. And I think perhaps Dr. Boni will speak to this. So when you then just list you know, the wife, and list the son, who is also an independent legal practitioner, again, what signal are you sending? Because corruption is individual, and people must be held individually accountable. Thirdly, I find it very interesting that only recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you remember, when the Kenyan ambassador, the US ambassador to Kenya, was speaking about naming those who are corrupt and all that, and I was saying that it does not help to say there are people who will be bad and you're not telling us who or why. Now, curiously, when then it comes to the naming, it's not the ambassador naming, it takes the Secretary of State all the way in the US to name one Kenyan individual. I find that curious. And we had been promised a list. And I think it should go further, and I agree with Aaron Chiriot on this. If you want to fight corruption, the most basic, and I made this point at that time, is that where you have evidence, don't just share it with the Kenyan authorities. Also share it with the rest of us, because we have a lot of evidence of corruption usually.
Yes.
Then go ahead and name those people. But not just naming, because it doesn't help us to stop corruption that one individual cannot travel to the US. It helps us that anybody who's involved in corruption in Kenya is prosecuted
Locally.
and is held to account. So it means, therefore, that whatever information you have, you need to share it. And if you think the Kenyan authorities are not acting, share it publicly so that many of us can then add that public pressure. The last bit, though, is the comments by Aaron Cheriot about who's ally. I think the current situation right now is that Senator Amos Wako, together with others, are part of the BBI team, who was appointed by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in consultation with Raila Amolo Odinga. But the person whose signature is shown on that Gazette notice is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So unless you are saying that by being appointed, Senator Amos Wako is an ally of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and the media is not naming him, that had he been an ally of the deputy president, it would have named. And then what you are saying then is that the deputy president is not an ally of Uhuru Kenyatta. I mean, that's a very serious implication of what you are saying.
Thank you.
But all I can say is, obviously, the BBI initiative cannot and has nothing to do with what, you know, with this whole thing.
Right, thank you. Sally?
I think I'll differ with my friend Otienda Molo when he says that the BBI has got nothing to do with this. I'll say that because I've listened to the US ambassador on 2 occasions, and I've formed an opinion that actually he doesn't like the BBI thing. And and I think this is the BBI thing. And I think I mean that's the opinion I formed.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
And I think this is part of the fight back or the pullback on the pullback or fight back on the BBI has already begun in earnest. Because why would you go naming an elderly person like Amos Wako? Who, even if he wanted to travel to the USA, because it's so far, he might need a doctor to escort him. I mean, naming him now, what use is it? Then you go on to name his wife, who has been unwell so many years, and is not about to go to the US for any reason. Why all this? Because whichever way you look at it, why aren't we? You just read to us a short while ago about what happened in the Galana Kulalu incidents, where 4 billion shillings changed hands to an individual. Why wasn't the US naming this person? Is it because the so-called Green Arava company is Israeli, and Israelis are very close allies of the US, so they don't want to muddy their own waters. I think, yes, we appreciate the US helping us to fight corruption, but can they bring us some more recent ones? I mean, because we don't know with this one they are accusing Wako of. Was it when he was a practicing lawyer, or is it when he was Attorney General? When did this happen? Because this it's good, but we want them to be more current and let us know exactly who others are involved. Because if it takes the Secretary of State himself, Pompeo, to name Amos Wako, there is something, a message that they are sending us. And we need them to be very clear. Yes, thank you, but it's too little. Can you give us more, since you have the information? And I'm sure you also have the information that there's no way Amos Wako's wife would be traveling to the US. You have that information. So why are you naming her? I think there is more here.
Thank you.
That the US needs to tell us.
All right, let's hear from Jacomi Dio.
Dibal, you're discriminating against me. This morning I had already knelt on the floor, on the door. I have apologized. These people have gone about 10 times and I'm just watching. You know, even the last thing on education.
You did comment?
No, in fact, I just wanted to inform my friend, Senator Cheriot, that my friend, Dr. Ngeno, his daughter went to a public school, Chebet, and Westlands Primary School, and she has 425 points. And I congratulate Chebet. But, well, I'm not believing what I'm hearing. I did not know an old, corrupt person is exempt from the law. That is the reasoning I'm hearing. And I hope Kenyans don't believe the things you people are talking about. I mean, just the mere fact, I think we cannot talk on this subject before my friend Amos Wako tells us what he has been informed is his crime. You can't say somebody's wife is innocent, children is innocent, and a body such as United States State Department has said you can't travel. You know, why, don't you think it is just courteous to get the facts right? You know, in this, on this show, we were fighting, particularly with Aaron, when people were being kicked out of government because of corruption. Why were we treating them with different standards than we want to treat Amos Wako? Corruption is just corruption. We need help. Amos may be innocent, but I think it is wrong to try to say that because of age circumstances, because he was aged 30 years ago, then he is innocent. Please, come on, man. Kenya, we need help. And I think most of these thieves who have been named, I hope the US gives us a whole list and they should not leave the borders. You know, in a scenario where Debal has just said, one individual was paid 4 billion shillings. You know, 1 billion shillings is money you can't even count in a day. 1 billion, Bob. But one person walked away with it. So please, let us not give Kenyans no hope. Let us say, if there is something, let them tell us what is it about Amos that is so annoying to Americans. Just the same way we had with the Akasha brothers. You know, if there's something, let us seek the truth. And Dibal, you would help us as media by telling us what is it that Amos could have committed. But we cannot blame America. We cannot want to live in a cocoon of corruption where things are just so wrong and we seem to be treating Kenyans to some plate of food which is so negative. Please.
Thank you. Boni Khalwale, no.
To be careful.
It is Boni Khalwale.
Just 10 seconds.
It is Boni,
Yes,
it's your
of
chance.
course, but I'm just saying,
No,
when you're listening to Jacoyo, you have to remember you're listening to an American citizen. I hope you even heard how he contextualized it and said, come on, man.
Boni Khalwale.
This is a very difficult one. Mm-hmm. When you ask yourself who is speaking, and you find the person speaking is the government of the United States of America, it's difficult for you to call it witch hunt. because these are people who have got tools of investigations that are far more powerful than even what we have here locally. So what the government should be pressing and what wananchi should demand for is a total disclosure of what it is that Wako is accused of.
But
The anger...
But are we riding on the assumption that disclosure has not been made to Senator Wako? Because maybe it is not in the public domain, but I presume that the fact that they've come to the public with this particular information, he must be knowing what actually is being, accused of and why he's actually getting these bans.
Yes, I agree with you. That demand for disclosure, we can actually demand from the United States government or from Wako himself. Do you have any information? We cannot just start defending Wako simply because we are angry. We have to be pragmatic, and the truth is the anger that Amolo has, which I share with him, can only be limited to his son Julius and his wife Flora. To us who come from where we come from, Flora is a pleasant person, our Senje. In fact, unknown to members of the public, the only public contribution that Koho Flora has made, Senje Flora has made in this country, is that she's a children's storyteller. In fact, she has written a book called The Kenyan Fables, a very nice best-selling children's book. The reason why Julius and Senje Flora have been caught up into this thing, it is not because the two of them are corrupt. It is because of the nature of the American law that addresses this. It specifies as that when a public officer like Wako is denied an opportunity to go to the US, then that denial extends beyond himself to include the wife and the children. So it is in so doing, they are not saying Senje Flora is corrupt, neither are they saying Julius Wako is corrupt. Having said that, I think we should look in the eye of the ambassador of the US, straight into his eye. This guy, to me, unless he makes full disclosure, he seems to be caught up in a situation whereby he went public and said that Kenyans who are corrupt are going to be banned. And then, knowing that the law would require that that banning should be accompanied with the disclosure of the crimes that these people who are being denied travel have committed, he then sent pressure to the, is it called the State Law Office in the US, to make this ban. So when Pompeo went through the list, the only person they could find in their records who has been mentioned in matters of corruption is Wako. Jacoya and I knows that in 2009, when we were in Parliament, at the height of the Anglo-leasing scandal, Wako was actually a central player because Wako allowed and okayed the payment of Anglo-leasing up to and including the promissory notes to a company called InfoTalent that offered the so-called security contracts. And for this reason, in 2009, Wako also faced the same fate. He was banned from traveling to the US. I think you remember that. He was banned. So I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, that first, with no other evidence on any other Kenyan who is corrupt, who they want to ban, the State Department went through their record and they found that the only person on whom they had information was Wako. So they are just replaying an old record. My final point is I would like to defend, without being hired by Cheriot on his remarks on association. I don't know why, when it is convenient for you, Amolo, you run away from your people. Can you relax?
Which people now?
Amolo, you remember the good old days when you were in a primary school in Rarieta, and I was in a Kolomani, when we were being told the rules of debate, that you allow your opponent to finish, then you respond. So Amolo, why? You know very well that the membership on the Building Bridges Initiative was recommended by some people. Wako was recommended by Raila. So he is Raila's man. So if there is evidence that is current or that is otherwise, Amos was quite right. I mean, Aaron was quite right to say how newspapers twist stories. Why didn't they say this is Raila's man? The way they would have jumped if Ruto had named a single person on that panel. I think he was just setting the record.
Can I just...
No, but we should not
you
drag
carry a big
Raila's
that
name.
one. I don't want to go there.
No. I think it's Matangi's time before you get a rejoinder. Then we wind up on it.
Matangi started and said the longest time.
I mean, you know, let's respect.
Can you pass over the bell so that I can actually control it?
You've all spoken, so it's here, you know, and so. And Otiende Amolo, you also must know that when I have the bell, I also might have the rule, the authority to expel you.
Or to tell me to leave.
Tell you to leave. So can we be, anyway, Dival, the final point I wanted to make is maybe one of these days when we have time, allow us also to speak about the metamorphosizing, the changing face and perception of Trump's America. Because, you know, I think one of the questions that will linger in many people's minds now, if we are true to what would be using as a parameter or a measure of accountability, of truthfulness. I mean, just follow for a day or a few hours the revelations that are being made right now on the ongoing Trump impeachment trial, and some of the conspiracies around Ukraine and the president and what and Russia and so on and internal machinations. I mean, once you want to ask yourself, and I say this with a lot of due respect, is you know, given what's been happening and some of the revelations coming out, you know the sheer hate speech that sometimes is even spewed by the sitting president in the United States. Some of those revelations is really Trump's America, a global policeman on morality, on truthfulness, on accountability.
All right.
That would
get to the point now
one
with
would
Amos
want
Wako
to be looking at and say that they still have that threshold of moral standing to judge other people and to say don't come. I mean, you might even want to take that further and ask, is it the way it was that people would really be dying and fighting to go to Trump's America now? I mean, I doubt many people would want to. I think that landscape is changing. But on Wako, I just want to say precisely that when such an allegation is made, and I want to remind the ambassador that his predecessor sometimes came out, and when there was a long list in Parliament of people who were then alleged to be drug traffickers, they promised that they were going to be taking action and that they were going to be banning those people, and they were going to be, but that has never happened. If you look at, for example, if you're talking about the menace of drug abuse, drug trafficking, although they prosecuted their cashers, that is all right. But what about all those people they say that they were investigating and that they were going to be banning them? And what I would want to be saying really is that let such proclamations come with clarity, and clarity is brought about by disclosure, so that you know what they're talking about.